Hey, how's it going? Welcome to my awkward little stream. Cheers. Mm. I think that interrupted my cheers, but that's fine. It's a little, the lighting's a bit off today because it's kind of not sunny or bright outside, and if I turn on the light that I have to balance that, it's way too bright in front of me, so nothing I can do right now. But shit happens. I actually prefer it when it's a bit dark and dreary outside. That's my tempo. So, but it doesn't work for this, obviously, but it's okay. Whatever. So today, I am going to be reading. And if I can just shift this over very slowly into frame. One second. Look, I'm a bit late setting shit up. Forgive me, but there we go. This is super janky too. I can't. Oh wait, I can. Don't fall. Okay. So, this is my book. I'm gonna be reading from it. And yeah, that's the idea I have for Friday streams. I think that's a little fun idea. I'm just gonna be reading it non-professionally because I'm not a professional narrator by any way, shape, or form. Yeah, and I kind of suck at enunciating, and this is not gonna go well, but I'm gonna do it anyway, so why not? Oh, I hear my cat meowing at me already. Damn it. Oh no, he's getting loud. Okay. He needs attention. He doesn't realize what's going on here. I'll be back in a quick sec. I'm really sorry. Yep, be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Cat was just really going at it at my door, really meowing. And sometimes he'll like paw underneath the door and like pull it, and that makes a lot of noise, and we don't really want that. So hopefully he's good now. I will give him lots of love after the stream for sure. But okay. Let me move things around a bit and get a little set up. Okay. I gotta figure out how exactly I want to set myself up next time when I do this. Okay. I think we're good. Yes. I think this is good now. Alrighty. So, first, before I start reading, I have a small announcement. I'm actually doing stuff on social media for a change. I know, weird, right? There's this hashtag on Twitter that goes, that's VSS 365. VSS standing for very short story. And it's basically just a bunch of like little short stories, whatever themed genre, doesn't matter. And it's just, yeah, basically the idea is to tell a story within the character limit of Twitter, but people just do whatever. It's kind of nice. And yeah, I've done that off and on for like a while now, but today, the past like few days, I've been really into it. I'm kind of really into the theme of like unrequited love and stuff like that. So I've been doing tweets based on that, which is kind of neat. And then I'm posting the tweets onto Instagram as well. So if that's something you'd like to check out, or you actually want to like see me on the social media, I'm actually kind of doing stuff on there now. So yeah, hang out with me on there. It's nice. Yeah, don't really have anything else to say about that. So let's get on with reading. I'm gonna move over just a little bit more. Bring this a little bit more into frame. There, that works. I wonder if it's backwards for you guys. Token. Hovering on back. Hey Token, how's it going? Welcome back. It's nice to see you here. Okay, I'm just going to pull up my book on my phone. I figured that's the best way to read it. I was thinking about reading it directly from the paperback itself, but I'm just going to read it off from my phone. It's easier for me. Nice easel, thanks. I had it on my desk in the living room, and I had a painting on it. But then when I had the idea to do this reading, I was like, hey, why don't I grab that easel, put my book on it, and then, you know, because the other idea was just having an image of my book on screen, but I was like, this is a neat idea. Why not? Although scrambling to find something to put the easel on was interesting. There's like this box thingy I have here, and then underneath that is the box my microphone came in, and then under that is a couple of egg cartons that are empty, just to get it at the right height. Yep. It's a little janky, but it's great. Gotta do what I can with what I got, you know? Okay, let's see. Let's open up my book. Oh, and I figured when it comes to the love scenes, I'm just gonna censor out some words that I think may be a bit too, like, might get me in trouble on the platforms. So we'll see how that goes when it comes up. Yeah. Where do you come up with the name? Anime, real life, other literature, random. A little bit of all of that, actually. Some of them have come from anime. Like, for example, I have a character, not a main character, more like a side character. Her name is Nagisa, and that's from anime. Oh god, there's a friend I had back in high school. Okay, my memory sucks. I can't remember if this was her brother. Oh, damn it. One second. Give me 2 seconds. Sorry. I told my mom, I told her not to call me. Sorry. I told her to call me like later. Oh, hey Rain, how's it going? But yeah, sorry about that. Let me get back to answering your question. So yeah, there's a friend I had in high school, and I can't remember if this was the name of her brother or a friend she had, but the name was Tayo. I used that in my stories. I really like that name. Again, not a main character. I think all of my main characters that have their own books are names I kind of just came up randomly. I'm actually really trying to think now. Yeah, for the most part, I just came up with them. Like, I know, like, for example, Edward is a very popular name. Obviously, in recent years... Oh my god. Obviously, in recent years because of Twilight, but that's not why I named my character Edward. Yeah, sometimes I just like to come up, like, randomly. For example, there's a character named Vyds, which is spelled V-Y-D-Z. Just like random letters that I thought looked cool, and that became a character name. some of the characters, like I've said before, are ones that I've written into stories many, many years ago, and then when I was coming up with the idea for this series, I decided to put those characters into this series. Yeah. I don't know. Short version of that is just everywhere. Names just come everywhere. Or, yeah. That's all I can say. 1 second. Yeah. Like right before the stream started, my mom and I were talking on the phone about something, and then I don't know if she got cut off or she had to go, so she kind of hung up on me. I'm not really sure which one it was. And I told her to just call me back like later, or I would call her, and then, yeah. She decides to call me now. But it's okay. We're good. I'll talk to her later. It's no big deal. But yes. Let's get to reading. Let's see. I'm gonna do that. Okay. Wonder if we get more than 3 pervs in the chat again, especially when reading Innocent Times, right? Oh my god. My cat is meowing again. It's like everyone is interrupting the stream right now. You token, I have a name. Yo, Rain, I don't know if you were here yesterday, if you were here to see the people that came in yesterday, but there were some doozies. There was one who lied and said he was gonna follow me and then didn't. Very disappointing. But whatever. You can say goodnight to me, I don't agree. Oh my god, you guys are funny. Alright, you silly billies, silly gooses. Let's do what I'm here to do. Okay. So we're starting with A Knight's Heart, which is about Edward and Drea. Edward is a blood contractor and Drea is a Shinigami. And I will explain what those are in a second. What was your preferred term of endearment? Hello. Be cool. God. Oh my god, my cat is meowing again. I love him, but he's meowing. I think you guys can hear it. Or I just leave him and let him meow, and it'll just be interdispersed throughout the reading. Do you think leaving him to meow will like bring atmosphere to the books? Hopefully he stops soon and realizes that he's not coming in here and I'm not going out there. We'll see. You guys are funny. Okay. So yes. A Knight's Heart, the first book of my series, which is called Darkness Comes at Dawn. Okay. I'm actually gonna start with the glossary. So I put a little glossary at the beginning of each of my books, just explaining some of the races a little bit and stuff like that. So I think it'd be fun to start with that. I didn't hear the meow this time, but there's a lot of background noise at work. Okay, well, I mean, that works in my favor then. I can really hear him though. He's like, so like I have obviously like a gap right underneath my door, and he'll like stick his like little cute little nose right underneath it and just meow right there. He's been pretty cool the last several streams. I don't know why today he's like really on my butt. What's that? I heard that one. Yeah. Sometimes he can be really loud. Like, is that if he sticks his, like, nose under my door? Yeah. We'll see. It could also be because he heard my phone ring. But it's fine. If you have the door open or give him a few seconds of tension, calm down. Yeah. I could give them some treats. Maybe I'll do that. Okay, I'm gonna go give them some treats. That's a good idea. I'll be back. You guys, yeah. I'll be right back. Alright, back. Okay. It's about to get stoned? Oh my god. I didn't give them catnip. I actually don't have any catnip. I just gave them it's the Temptations cat treats. They love that shit. So I just scattered some on the floor. They'll be good. Oh wow. Sleeping on the job. You guys are funny. Alright. Let's get on with this. Alright, so I'm gonna start with the glossary, like I said. Angels live in heaven. Strength is measured by the amount of wings they have, 2 to 8. Blood contractors, which is what Edward is in the story, are ranked 1 to 5, and I use Roman numerals to rank them. I thought that was fun. Each rank is assigned certain races to kill. Contract is given by their ruler. And can manifest a bladed weapon from their blood, only 1 per person. They are ruled by Asher. Demons live in hell. Only the 7 deadly sin demons can sort souls and guard the gate to hell. Hackers are the only neutral race. No one targets them. Can communicate with technology as easily as conversing with people. Jesters. Love jesters, they're the best. Considered to be the most vicious race. Hunt in pairs or groups. Have sharp nails, serrated teeth, pointed ears, and overly wide grins. Magic users, which are basically witches or wizards, that kind of concept, but I decided to call them magic users because I want it to be different. Can do/use minor spells. Each one has a specific power that only they can use. Mermaids live in oceans and sometimes in lakes. Known to be overly optimistic and emotional, scales cover most of their bodies. I go more in detail about that afterwards. I like how I describe my mermaids. When we encounter one, I like the detail I go into them. Nice. Races. 25 races are known to exist. Humans know nothing of the other races. Every race has a ruler. Fish top or bottom? That's an interesting question. I mean, we'll eventually get to a mermaid book. That's book 4, FYI. Uh, Rulers. Origins are unknown. Each governs a specific race. Some are said to have created the race they rule. Shinigami, which is what Drea is, aka the female lead in this book, live in Sora no Chi. When someone reveals themselves to humans, a Shinigami is dispatched to retrieve their soul. Souls are transported to hell by the Shinigami. Strongest are known as the Amefuri Monshi. Each has a scythe that can change into any bladed weapon upon the user's command, ruled by Po. And then Sora no Chi, a dimension where Shinigami live. It is a desolate landscape of hard gray dirt and dying trees. Gray clouds cover the sky and block out the moon. Sun never rises. It is a dimension of never-ending night. Obviously, if you guys know the anime Bleach, heavily inspired by that. It just gives you like a little taste of what's coming up. Alright, chapter 1, here we go. Watch me super fail at narrating this. Okay. Chapter 1. Footsteps echoed all around the alleyway, bouncing off the brick walls. The gargoyle's pursuer was getting closer. Adam watched the chase from the shadows of a nearby building, interested in how this encounter would end. Everything depended on this contract. The gargoyle couldn't risk looking back as he ran, couldn't risk barreling out into the crowded streets. Even in the dead of night, there were so many humans about. If he could get to the roof of one of these buildings, he just might have a chance. Rounding another corner, his head jerked up when he spotted a metal ladder attached to stairs leading to his freedom. As he approached it, he pushed large garbage bins behind him, hoping to gain even a few precious seconds. Like that would work. Did the gargoyle not know who was after him? He had to know by now. Leaping for the bottom rung, he yanked it easily down and began climbing. When he reached the first landing, he stupidly looked back to see the other who chased him. To see the one who chased him. The blood contractor had just rounded the corner. Adam studied the man. He ran as if he were in a marathon, steady and determined. He didn't have his weapon out yet, which, according to sources, was a type of medieval sword. The gargoyle, after looking back and seeing the contractor getting closer, took the steps 2, sometimes 3 at a time. If he could get to the roof, then he could easily fly away. It was his only escape now due to his nightly transformation. Gargoyles looked like every other human during the day, but at night they changed. Their skin turned gray, their muscles grew larger, claws and horns resembling stones sprouted from their fingers and forehead. The wings that stretched out from their backs were large and gray and looked like bats. Adam watched with anticipation as the beast jumped from the final landing, propelling himself over the edge. He tore the coat from his body as he landed and flexed his wings. The confrontation that he had been waiting for all night was about to begin. Who would win? Who was stronger? He needed to know. Tensing to take off, the beast grinned, and Adam answered that smug expression with a soft sigh of annoyance. The gargoyle shot up into the air and fell back down to the roof just as quickly. Oh. Alright, bye Rain. Thanks for being here. Yes. The gargoyle shot up into the air and fell back down to the roof just as quickly. His right wing, now bloodied and severed from his body, soon followed. The building shook beneath his massive weight. Adam could feel the lingering tremors of the impact from a building away. The gargoyle stared in shock as the blood contractor picked up the sword that was lodged in the roof. He'd just thrown it? Such a risky move. If the blade hadn't struck true, the weapon would have flown far, weakening the man and allowing the beast to escape. The gargoyle didn't move as the blood contractor stalked towards him. He seemed to be frozen in fear, or possibly just shocked by what had happened. He wouldn't be able to fly until his wing regenerated, but gargoyles were one of the strongest races in existence, if not the strongest. He could win this fight. Growling, he got to his feet, towering over the blood contractor by a foot. The man stopped walking and readied his sword, holding it low at his side, both hands on the hilt. With a roar that shook the night, the gargoyle launched himself at his stalker. The man tensed, but otherwise made no movement. He dove at the blood contractor, probably intending to use all his weight to crush him. What Adam saw in those next moments made him smile in satisfaction. Now, on to the next step of his plan. That's the first part of the first chapter. So, fun fact, originally, that first part was more in the gargoyle's perspective versus Adam watching what was going on. But then my editor suggested to change the perspective, to either have it in Adam's or in Edward's. And I was like, well, since Adam is the big bad, I wanted it to be in his perspective, especially because he shows up again later, which makes sense. And I thought this was a fun introduction for Edward. And I'll go into more of that in a minute, but whenever I first start out a book, I have to think, okay, which character am I starting with? Boss called, the gargoyle died, missed the last part. Yep, totally died. Gargoyle, done. But yeah, so when first starting to write a book, I think about, okay, whose perspective do I want to start with? Do I want to start with the male lead or the female lead? And then from there, Cold Blooded Murder, Call the Cops. And then from there, it's like, okay, what do I do with the characters? So I started off with Edward, and then I was like, okay, I want to showcase, he's a blood contractor. I want to show him on a mission, completing a contract. Then I was like, okay, who do I have him go up against? And, I thought about, I wanted like a strong opponent for him, right? To show that he is as stronger in order to beat that opponent. So then I was like, okay, I could do something like, a werewolf, right? People know werewolves, they're pretty strong. Then I was like, why don't I do something more fun? So I decided I have gargoyles in my series, why not do a gargoyle? And yeah, so I decided to put him up against a gargoyle. Sucks the gargoyle had to die, but Edward got to complete that contract. That was a fun scene to write. And I really liked having Adam in the background watching it. So the series starts off with Adam, and I love that. Which level of contractor do you have to be to fight a gargoyle? 4. Edward is a rank 4. Which means he is almost at the top because there's 5. And the fun thing about that is only I say this afterwards, actually pretty soon, is only rank 5 blood contractors go up against jesters. That's their only target. So Edward pretty strong, and I really emphasize that point throughout the book too. And then yes, there are jesters in here that do end up fighting Edward and Drea, and it's really fun just showing their strength and then them going up against jesters, and yeah, the difference is fun. Is only the leader of 5? No. Asher, the ruler of blood contractors, is not included in the ranking system. The rulers are like a whole thing all on their own. There are a few 5s. One, I believe I mentioned one for sure in this book, and then you see a couple more later on in the series, but there's a main. I'm actually thinking of the books I have. I think I only have one book featuring a rank 5 blood contractor. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I could be misremembering, but yeah. And it's gonna be really fun when I get to her book. Actually, she appears in this one. So, yeah. Let's continue on to the next scene in this chapter, which is in Edward's perspective. So let's see his view now. Edward glanced down at the gargoyle's headless body. As the beast had lunged for him, he had swung his medieval sword, the blade becoming blood when reaching the outstretched gray hands, then reforming to cleave the head from the body. That was a trick only his rank and the one above him could do. Lower ranks were too exhausted by the act to pull it off successfully. Running a hand through his hair, he returned his sword to his body. The blade changed from solid metal to liquid crimson and slipped into the cut on his right palm. The cut healed in seconds as if it had never been there in the first place. With this task concluded, he pulled out his cell phone as he walked to the metal staircase at the edge of the building. He typed out an email to Asher, the ruler of his race, telling him the contract was complete and cleanup was necessary. He received a reply immediately. Descending the side of the building, Edward wondered what his next contract would be. Edward used cheat codes for that move, Dirty Plays. You know, it's funny you say that, but Edward does play a little dirty. Something that Drea makes a note of, and it's pretty hilarious, considering I describe Edward as an honorable, noble person. But he ain't afraid to fight dirty if he gotta, and I love that. But yeah. Oh, Edward. He's such a workaholic. Already completing a contract and wanting the next one. Okay. Drea's part is a little long, but for this first book, I didn't separate the scenes and stuff like I do in future books. So, like, my chapters in the first book are a bit longer. He sounds bored. Yep, that's kind of the impression I want to give off. You know? Thus, Drea will enter his life and change everything. I love it. Alright. Okay. Next scene, which is Drea's. Here we go. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. Drea cooed into the darkened apartment. Her target tonight was a feline. How could she resist taunting it? She stood in the doorway of an apartment, floor 14, waiting for any movement or sound. Felines were known to be light-footed, probably as much as elves. But Drea was damn good at her job, and her targets usually fucked up out of fear. Just had to wait a minute longer. Any second now. Ah, there it was. A very faint intake of breath. With a grin spreading across her face, she twirled her dagger between her fingers and moved into the darkness. She could see just as well in here as the cat she hunted. The sound had come from the bedroom, just down the hall. Upon entering the room, she headed straight for the closet. With a flourish, she pulled both doors open. Please don't kill me! The feline was huddled in the corner, white fluffy ears flat against his short white hair. His eyes glowed green in the darkness. Do I look like a blood contractor? Drea made a disgusted noise in the back of her throat. She absolutely hated being mistaken for those glorified bounty hunters. All they did was kill for no reason. They were issued a contract they had to complete in a certain amount of time. At least her race, the Shinigami, cared about what happened to someone's soul. The only blood contractor she liked was her sister. You revealed yourself to humans. You know there are consequences for that. She held her dagger out to her side. Scythe. The blade changed form. The black handle touched the floor. The shining onyx blade arched out over her head. Crimson gems decorated the pole and blade where they connected. Shinigami. The feline began to shake, trembled, racking his body. Her voice softened a touch. There's nothing to be afraid of. You won't feel a thing. The white-haired man didn't seem to hear her. The poor guy had probably revealed himself to humans by accident. The majority of her missions were for those who knowingly exposed themselves. That sounds wrong. It was how stories of ghosts and other such paranormal entities came to exist in human culture. Taking a deep breath, she touched the tip of her scythe to the feline's chest. He shrieked in terror as it slipped into his body. No cut, no pain. It was like a ghost or phantom. When the blade retreated from his body, he gave a jolt and moved as if pulled. From his body came a small ball of light. Green eyes dim, the feline slumped over. Drea created Drea cradled the ball to her chest. You'll probably be given a second chance sooner than you think. She took a step back as black smoke stirred around her feet before climbing up her entire body. As the smoke dissipated, she was no longer in the cat's apartment, but standing before the gate to hell. Scene's not over, but I'm gonna pause here for dramatic effect. It's like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, both contract killers. Kind of. Yeah, similar. They do kind of the same thing, but the reasonings are different. She's a Dementor. I mean, she doesn't suck the life out of you. She pulls your soul out of your body. That's totally different. Sounds like they've been lying to her. No. Nope. I actually, in the next scene, or the continuation of the scene, I explain a little bit of what goes on. At least I believe I do. I explain a little bit of what that means exactly. So, to give you a little preview, basically, when someone dies or when a Shinigami brings a soul to hell, that soul or the person or a person or whatever, they get sorted down in hell, and they'll either live out the rest of their eternity in hell, in paradise, not torture, or they'll go through a purgatory kind of thing, or they'll be reincarnated. And that's what she means by you'll probably be given a second chance sooner than you think, because she's thinking, maybe the demons will sort this feline's soul to be reincarnated. Which, even though the demon will put their soul into the reincarnation category or section of hell, it actually ultimately depends on the ruler. So, fun fact. You never tell your staff the full story. I'm sure some other deals are made with leaders and they use them for something else. Maybe? Remember, we're only in Drea's perspective right now, so she only knows as much as she knows. She ain't a demon. And even at that, only the 7 deadly sin demons sort souls, only they know what's really happening. Just saying. Maria. Look, that's not gonna work with me, okay? My memory sucks, so even if you're right, I'm still gonna, hedge, because I don't know. There are so many mysteries. I'm trying Nav to think. We do get... Yes. I think it's book 7. Yes. Book 7 is our first book that has a deadly sin demon. So that's when we're gonna really get to see what happens with souls that are sorted and get more detail into that, which is fun. Although book 2, we get to spend some time in hell, so we get to see part of it, but not the sorting and how all that happens. We just get to be in hell, which is fun. But the 7th book, we get to be with what the main character is a deadly sin demon. We get a bit more there, which is nice. Oof. And then after book 7 is book 8, which is the end of this first arc of my series, is what I call it. And book 8's a doozy, let me tell ya. Yeah, whew. It's gonna be a crazy ride, book 8. Actually, yeah. 7 and 8 are gonna be something, especially 8. So I've basically split up my series into different arcs, we'll call them. And each arc is kind of focused on a specific thing. Even though there's a plot that goes throughout the entire series, I kind of wanted a big thing to happen in each end of the arc, each arc's end. And yeah, book 8 is crazy. First arc is just the intro. No. So, not necessarily. And that's because when it comes to a romance series, or a paranormal romance even, how the author typically structures it is, while the entire series has a plot, that goes on throughout it. Each book will still be its own thing. So like, and that's not going to change. And while, you know, you do have characters show up in various books, it's not exactly what a typical series goes, if that makes any sense. So like how I have, you know, book 1 is with Edward and Drea. Book 2 is, the characters are Richard and Ellie. Book 3 is about Tayshian and Trina. So each book has its own main characters and its own plot going on, but then there's still an overarching plot throughout the entire series. It's almost, and yeah, it's kind of hard, kind of weird to describe, but it's something I've seen a lot in anime, in like certain anime series that I've gone into, and then seeing it in novels is something new until I started actually reading more. Yeah. But yeah, I hope that makes sense. I don't think I explained myself very well. But yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Put it this way, there is a main plot throughout the entire series that is slowly being pieced together. Yeah. And then me calling, you know, certain things arcs and stuff like that, that's just how I've separated things a little bit for my own personal whatever. Not that it matters to like readers necessarily, but it's just how I've decided to separate it for my own fun, we'll say. But yeah, let's continue on here. So yes, he's standing before the gate of hell. Lyra, she squealed in delight. Standing in front of the shining silver gate was a woman with long red hair and coffee brown eyes. Her hair was tied back with a piece of black ribbon in the shape of a bow, and her bangs swept above her left eye, sometimes falling in front of it. A wall of dark rock expanded in all directions from her, left, right, and up. The only way into hell was through the gate. While the rock face seemed to go on endlessly, the gate was only a few feet taller than the woman guarding it. In front of her was a long, winding line of various races. They were waiting to be sorted. Hell wasn't anything like what most people thought it to be. There was no fire, no pitchfork-wielding creatures running about. The entrance looked exactly like the inside of a cave. Along the ceiling were a multitude of light bulbs placed about at regular intervals. The inside of Hell, the world beyond the guarded gate, that was where things got interesting. The demon smiled meekly. It's been a while. Good to see you, Drea. They exchanged a hug. It had been a few months since they had seen each other. So what's new and exciting? She asked the redhead, leaning her hip against her scythe. Not much, just the same old drama. With a shrug, she motioned the next person in line forward. Without a word, the gate opened, and the person at the front of the line walked through. He wasn't nervous or scared. Everyone in line was emotionless. It made them easier to manage. Plus, there wasn't anything to be afraid of. How about you? How's your sister? The demon turned her attention back to Drea. She smiled widely. Madison is doing great. Still a rank 5 and kicking so much ass. Filthy line jumper. She is Shinigami. She got priority, alright? Oh, Madison. I love Madison. Drea's sister. That's good. Lyra smiled in return. I'm always fearing for her. Hunting down jesters is terrifying. They both shivered involuntarily. Jesters were the most vicious, vile, and cruel creatures of all the races. No one knew how they came into existence, but they were given a wide berth. Only rank 5 blood contractors were allowed to hunt them. Just like within the ranks of the Shinigami, only the Amathuri Monshi were tasked with collecting a jester's soul. It was simply too dangerous for anyone but the strongest. Those creatures were always in groups or pairs, never alone. I always worry about her, Drea mumbled softly. Even though I know she's more than capable, I know, she's your sister. Lyra rested a hand on her arm and squeezed it gently, a comforting smile on her face. It wasn't just the whole jester thing that made her worry. Their past weighed heavily on her mind and in her heart. But she didn't want to go down that road. She relived those awful memories far too often in sleep. You have something for me? Changing the subject, Lyra pointed at the ball of light she held. Lyra pointed at the ball of light she held. A feline. Go easy on him, okay? Brown eyes softening, the demon nodded. As a deadly sin demon and one tasked with sorting souls, Lyra could see the feline's entire life the second she touched the soul, or touched his soul. With a flick of her wrist, the gate opened, and the ball of light flew slowly inside, going deeper into hell. I gotta go now. It's dinner time. Like before, black smoke built up around Drea's feet. Madison was the best cook. Even this late at night, they always tried to make dinner together. Most nights anyway. They tried to have dinner together, whatever. Most nights anyways. Sometimes the job required days of stalking. Be careful out there, dear. Lyra gave a small wave. Always am. She mock saluted as the darkness took her. And that's chapter 1. We got a bit of Edward, a bit of Drea. Not bad. Fun times, fun times. No, she does not text her boss like Edward does. Things work differently with the Shinigami. See, how it works is Poe just like knows. Then again, Asher just kind of knows as well because the rulers are whatever they are, but Poe's just like, he don't want to have to deal with that shit. So he just kind of knows when shit's done. You know what I'm saying? And besides, yeah, that's it. You'll see. You get to see a bit of Poe and Asher in this book. I always, whenever I whoever's book it is, so like for example, because it's a blood contractor and a Shinigami, I always feature their ruler. So for example, in the 4th book, it's a mermaid and a harpy, so I feature the harpy's ruler and the mermaid's ruler. I always want to show off some rulers now and then because they're awesome. Do they get physical alterations like the feline or gargoyle? You mean Shinigami? What do you mean, who do you mean by they? A lot of the paranormal races in my story look human or could pass easily for human. Yeah, no. Shinigamis and blood contractors, they look human. You wouldn't really know that there's something other unless they like revealed it, kind of thing. Yeah, no, they don't look any different. Just their abilities and the fact that they heal super quickly and it's really hard to kill them because they're kind of immortal, we'll say, but not technically. I don't really like to refer to them as immortal because immortal implies you can't die, but they can. It's just really hard to kill a non-human. That's why I call them non-humans. Simple and to the point. Immortal typically means when you live forever unless killed. Yeah. Try murder, you're fine. I've seen it being used as like, because it's the opposite of mortal. Mortal being your life is finite or whatever. You know what I mean? It can end. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I don't know. I just don't like using the word immortal because of what it implies. Yeah. I just prefer saying non-human in my books. But yeah, typically non-humans can't die unless they're decapitated or a very specific thing. But gods get killed all the time. I mean, depends on what media you're watching or reading, because there are some times where like a god is, you know, killed, but they're not actually killed and they just like show up again or some shit. So it really depends. It depends on, I guess, the creator of whatever it is you're reading, watching. So, but for my series, they can easily be killed. The decapitation is like the one way to kill a non-human. That's like definitive across all the races. But then there's some races that have a very specific kill condition. Shinigami being one of them, which, yes, does pop up in this book, which is fun. Well, we'll get to that. Okay. Yeah, let's move on to chapter 2. Well, it reminds me of a quote from Scary Movie 3. What's the quote? I haven't seen Scary Movie 3 in a long time. I think I saw the first one kind of recently, like maybe a few months back. I found their weakness. Without their heads, they're powerless. Oh yeah! I remember that one. I remember that part. I remember that part. That was pretty funny. Okay, let's go on to chapter 2. Which has a break in it, so we'll read up to there. Alright. Chapter 2. 7 days remaining. Difficult thing to understand, Edward murmured out loud to himself. He sat on his couch, feet propped up on the coffee table as he worked on a crossword puzzle. After a few seconds, he wrote in the answer. Enigma. This was a typical morning for him. Doing the crossword woke up his mind far better than a cup of coffee ever could. Sometimes, when he was feeling, well, human, he'd cook some breakfast. Usually, that would happen on days like this when he had just completed a contract and was waiting for a new one. There was always downtime between contracts. He hated that. The boredom drove him crazy. His phone buzzed from its spot by his feet. Frowning, he picked it up and read the email. Another contract so soon? This time his target was a Shinigami. It was very rare to get a contract this soon after completing one. He would typically get a few days or even a week off. The deadline for the Shinigami was 7 days. The gargoyle had taken him only a few days. How long would this one be? Shinigami were hard to beat. This would be the first one Edward had ever faced. Their only vulnerable point was the pole of their sides. While they were the same as every other non-human, what set them apart was their mentality. Because they knew exactly what happened to a person's soul, they weren't afraid of death. The knowledge made them courageous and willing to do things that others would not, like sustaining almost life-threatening injuries. Before he could begin his hunt, he needed information. Chapter break. 7 days, is that a reference to the ring? No. The reason why I did 7 days is because typically I like to pace the timeline in my books to be like, so basically I want a book to span either 1 week or 2 week time period. And so coming up with this book, I was like, okay, if I'm gonna give Edward a contract for, I mean, should be obvious by now, the Shinigami is Drea. I figured doing a 7-day period for that would be interesting. So, are the contracts normally given only by their leader? Yes. Only Asher will give them a contract. Unless something happens to, happen, just, Who hacked the system? Who sent this one? This one was Asher. It's interesting you say who hacked the system. Maybe that happens at some point. I don't know. Yep. You can deduce and guess all you want. Yep. Maybe shit happens in the future. I don't know. Let's move on to the next part of this chapter. The drive to find Disk, a hacker, didn't take very long. The Tim Hortons on Spadina Avenue was close enough to where he lived that the traffic wasn't too much of a nuisance. Contractors sent against Shinigami as often as... Contractors sent against Shinigami as often as other races. I mean... That... I honestly don't know the answer to that question. Because basically, people will get sent after other people as per I designed the plot to be. So, I'll answer yes, no, and maybe to that question. Yeah. That's... Yep, that's neither here nor there, really. Yep. As predicted, the man was sitting in the same back corner booth he always sat in. Edward walked to the counter and ordered a medium black coffee. After a few seconds, he took his roll-up-the-rim cup and sat across from the hacker. He was typing away on a laptop, the company label scratched off. He didn't look up, so Edward drank some of his coffee, waiting. He could have simply emailed Disk instead of coming all the way to see him face to face, but he had never really been a solitary person. He enjoyed interacting with people. Well, when he had time in between contracts. Hackers were considered neutral territory. Because they helped all races from time to time, everyone was reluctant to make enemies out of them. They were too useful. Disk ran a hand through his dirty blonde hair, making it messier than before. With a weary exhalation, he finally looked up at Edward with tired, light blue eyes. It's not even noon yet. Why are you so tired? He raised an eyebrow at the other man. Haven't slept in a week. Disk rubbed at his eyes. Who are you hunting this time, BC? Drea, Shinigami. The hacker hesitated, then slowly lowered his hands from his face. A Shinigami? Why one of them? I don't know, he shrugged. Right, you guys never ask why. Disk frowned in thought for a few seconds, then shook his head. No, never mind. Maybe I don't want to know. Those last words were uttered in a lower tone, as if to himself. Edward merely tilted his head in question, but the action was waved away in dismissal. I'll email you the details for your contract. The hacker returned to his laptop. Good. He nodded once, then stood from the booth. As he left, he saw one of the workers refill the man's almost empty cup. She smiled shyly before hurrying back behind the counter. Disk didn't even look up. Non-humans had supermodel good looks, so her reaction was common. From what he knew, the hacker had used his abilities for these humans so they would leave him alone. Chapter 2 is fairly short. Most of my chapters are fairly short. Are the reasons contractors kill and Shinigamis hunt souls the same? No. So Shinigamis are sent after a person's soul because they were threatening to reveal non-humans. So for example, the feline that we saw probably accidentally revealed itself to humans in some way. Even if the humans took it seriously or not, it's still a problem. So Drea was sent after the feline to retrieve the soul. Whereas blood contractors, they're kind of just given a contract like a bounty hunter, and then they just go and kill their contract, kill who they have to. There isn't really a reason for it, it just is. At least that's what we're going with. Put it this way, don't really think any blood contractor has really questioned this. You know what I mean? the rulers of the races don't really get questioned. So, no questions asked. So basically, I go into it later, obviously, but if someone is, you know, say about to die or in a really shitty situation where they're going to be killed or going to die, Asher will show up and be like, hey, instead of you... Actually, it's based on revenge, I should specify that. So if someone's in a situation where they're going to die or about to die, but they still yearn for revenge against someone for some reason, Asher will show up to them and be like, hey, I will give you your chance at revenge if you become a blood contractor and work for me, is kind of how it works. So, and they become blood contractors that way. So basically the person will die, then Asher will make them a blood contractor after death, and then that person is now non-human, and they are then in service to Asher, but Asher still allows them to get their revenge. Yeah. Is the true person who sent him Drea as a contract doing it so he kills her, or to be matchmaker? That is an interesting question. Definitely a fun one. That's definitely a fun implications with that question. It was Asher. Asher was the one who sent out the contract. That gets confirmed, I believe, soon. Look, in one of these chapters coming up, we get into Poe's and Asher's perspective, and we see that, yeah, it's legit. Asher's the one who gave Edward the contract. Now, the whole matchmaking thing, well, the thing is mixed race couples don't happen. They're so most people believe they just don't happen. The people who are kind of in the know that they are extremely, extremely rare. So people, you know, so for, you know, a blood contractor having their fated one as a Shinigami is like super far out there. So no one's thinking of, oh yeah, they're meant to be together and blah, blah, blah. That ain't happening right now. That's not a thought. It's only in book 5, the one I was just working on, that some of the rulers are like, hey, there's something going on. So, on false information? Our fated one is just rare in general. They're supposed to be. So, like I was saying, a lot of people believe they just... fated couples just don't happen, or they are extremely rare. And by extremely rare, I think I mentioned in the 5th book that you maybe get 1 or 2 every few years or something like that. Like, it's super, super uncommon, if that. So the fact that, you know, from the start of the 1st book to where I am in book 5, I think we're only a few months of a timeline there between those 5 books, and yet we have... No, I think we're like 3. I think we're like 3 or 4 months, and yet we have 5 mixed couples showing up in such a short time span. Plus, there's other things going on in the background. You know, enemies have popped up. There's some other shit going on. It's not just the whole fated one mixed races happening. There's a lot of shit that's going on that are making some of the rulers being like, hey, what's happening here? So, yeah. But the main thing that the rulers are kind of recognizing are, hey, there's a lot of fated couples popping up. What's going on with this? No one really knows who's behind it yet. Well, except for anyone who's actually read my books. But yeah. What kind of rough population numbers of each race is there? It depends. So, oh my god, let me think. In the 4th book, I actually mention to a detailed number, I give how many angels there are in existence and how many harpies there are. And there's like, so of angels, there's like a few thousand, and I think of harpies, I think they're just over 1,000 now. And then there's a little war that happens in book 4, and one of the races involved in it, they bring, I think 100 or 150 of that race, but that's not even the total amount of that specific one. But then I know, but then there's some races that, like, so I don't know if I've changed this yet, but I believe what I'm going to do, because I haven't exactly planned this out yet, but I'm thinking gargoyles and werewolves are going to be kind of small, especially gargoyles. Gargoyles, because of how I have that race, their history, their lore, there's not a lot of gargoyles for a very specific reason. Hackers, there's not too many hackers either, but that's because they're the newest race in existence. Yeah. But it's kind of varied. It's kind of all over the place. The only numbers I've directly given were of angels and harpies in book 4. And yeah. I kind of describe a little bit of mermaids and what their living situation is like, so you can kind of gauge by that. And Shinigami, when I describe where they live, the dimension of Sora no Chi, you can kind of figure it out there as well. Yeah, you can kind of guess sometimes. But this guy from the beginning, Adam behind it, I think you said he's an interesting bad guy, favorite character. Yes, Adam. I love Adam. I mean, just by reading the first book, it's very obvious that he's the big bad, and then in the second one, even more so. But yeah, I didn't want to hide the fact that Adam is the big bad of the series. I wanted him to be out there, front and center. Yes, he's the one pulling all the strings. He's doing everything. He's behind it all. Just because I want to build up the hype of him throughout the series, which is fun. I didn't want him to be like in the shadows or something like that. I wanted him front and center because he's just such an interesting character. So, Edward hunting the endangered. I mean, yeah, I guess he is. I don't even think, yeah, similar to, I will take your word for it, because like I said, I've not read the Aragon series. But yeah, I love Adam. He's such an awesome evil main baddie. Ugh, so good. And I love the hype. And I took inspiration from that from some anime. There's some anime series where like they'll show you the bad guy like right off the bat kind of thing, and then like you don't really encounter the bad guy till like obviously the end of the series, but like he gets like sprinkles here and there throughout like each episode and like hyping him up until you get to the end, and I love it. His name was always in the forefront but never seen, only appears at the very end. Oh, that's an interesting tactic too. I thought about doing that as well. I sort of do that with another character, I will say. There are like 2 characters I have. I'm gonna say one. There's one character I have that sometimes make an appearance, will sometimes make an appearance in every book, or at least their name will show up in every book, as sort of just to have just a little taste of that character. But I'm not gonna say any more on that character, so. Which is why the movie sucked, because they showed him too at the start. Oh, really? Oh, that sucks. Yeah, sometimes book movies get ruined like that, but that's unfortunate. But yeah, I wanted my baddie to be up front and center, which is why I started the book with him. Started the series, I should say, with him. I kind of have him showing up in every book, sort of. I think I may have skipped him in one of the books, but he was definitely brought up in it. But yeah, I love Adam. Oh my god, he's so much fun to write. Whenever I have one of his chapters, it's so much fun. Okay. Let's see. Let's get to chapter 3. Okay. It starts in Drea's perspective, and then we go off to Edward. Beautiful. He's just watching his work play out. Yeah, Adam's got a plan, man. My Adam, he got a plan. And let's just say he don't like it when his plans get screwed with, which kind of happens in one of the books, and he gets pissed. Yep. Okay. Let's continue. Yeah, let's continue with chapter 3. Alright. Drea stared out at Sora no Chi from her seat next to the window. The darkness of her living room was her only company. The bleak landscape outside never changed, no matter the time of day. It was always desolate and gray, the moon hidden behind clouds. The only source of light in the dimension were the bulbs outside of every house and the ones outlining the walkways. As usual, no one was around. Shinigami tended to keep to themselves and teleported wherever they needed to go. She was no different. Does he have an Eve? I mean, no. He does have a faded one, but maybe Eve is a character in this book. Actually, not this book. No, in this series. That wasn't even a faux pas. I don't know why I said book. Legit. There possibly is an Eve in this series. I mean, it should be really obvious that, like, I take inspiration from Catholic Christianity stuff with angels, demons, heaven, hell, and all that crap. It should be really obvious. And, you know, main baddie is Adam. But yeah, you see a... I was gonna say something about book 2, but you know what? We'll get there. Screw it. Let's just continue reading this chapter. Let's see. Where was I? Yeah. She was no different. While there were some of her race that she was friendly with, it wasn't on the same level as Lyra or the other Sin Demons, or even Glitch, her hacker friend. Shinigami were loners. She didn't think any of them were friends with each other. Well, except the Amethuri Monchi. There were currently 3 of them, and they were the elite, the best of the best. There had been a time when there were a dozen Amethuri Monchi, but wars over the centuries had decimated their numbers. And hitting that level of power was hard to achieve. The last one to hit their ranks was Cain, and that was a long time ago. I feel like I need to reword that line. That's fine. Who cares? With a small bored exhalation, she turned from the window and glanced around her home. Just like outside, it was bare. She didn't even bother to turn the lights on. What was the point? Because she hadn't received a new mission, she had nothing to do but wait for the hours to tick by until she could go over to her sister's place for dinner. She could go visit Lyra in Hell, but she didn't know if the Sin Demon was on duty, and she did not want to run into Astareth. He was the demon sin of sloth, and just like the title stated, he was personified laziness. Just being around him would increase her boredom. "Guess I'll go train some more," she said to the dark room. A small part of her missed her life as a human. She had always been busy dancing or playing instruments, but in a single night everything had changed. She stilled as her mind slipped into the past. Hands holding me down, rough voices in my ear, clothes tearing. Her fist shot out as she punched the wall to her right. She eyed the new hole wearily as she drew her hand to her chest. As her hand healed from the damage she'd just done to it, she let out a long sigh. "There's not going to be a wall left at this rate," she mumbled, mentally and emotionally weary. It had been centuries since she had last stopped repairing the walls to her home. Reactions like this happened too often for her to bother anymore. Wasn't time supposed to heal all wounds? Shouldn't her memory have dulled even a little after all this time? Would she always be cursed to relive those awful memories? Will I ever be free of them? She asked the room, voice trembling with unshed tears. Drained and unmotivated, she moved slowly through her home and entered her basement. The room was relatively empty except for a punching bag and some wood boards on the wall. Being non-human, she didn't need to train with gym machines or lift any kind of weights. There was no point in training one's body because the musculature didn't change. What mattered was training one's reflexes. Taking a deep breath, she retrieved her dagger from behind her back. She twirled it in her hand a few times, trying to get into the zone. She couldn't let her skills dim. It had taken her a long time to be able to fight the way she did. Fearlessly and confidently. She had an eternity of being a Shinigami ahead of her, and she refused to let herself become complacent. Complacency led to arrogance. Arrogance led to mistakes. In this line of work, mistakes led to death. Shinigamis and contractors are all reborn from deals. Are the other races the same style? I wouldn't say Shinigami are born from deals. Yeah, basically how Shinigami come into existence again, so how any race really comes into existence for the most part is a human dying and becoming one, or for the most part. Some races are different, but for Shinigami, Poe will sometimes just come across a human and feel sympathy for them, and then will make them into a Shinigami after they die. There's really no... It's not the same as Blood Contractors with Asher. Poe's different, we'll say, and Shinigami. And with the other races, let's say there was one race in particular that, there was a group of humans one day and they kind of did a thing and they got super hardcore cursed by a magic user and thus became something else. I will not say which race that is, but that's an origin story. In book 4, because that features a mermaid, I explain how mermaids come to be, which is kind of super dark and depressing. But Jesters? No, that is not the origin of Jesters. But like, yeah. Jesters' origins are interesting. I love the Jesters. I don't know why I love evil things so much. Like, Adam's my favorite character. Jesters are my favorite race, and they're all terrible. It's great. Oh, fun side note. Even though Jesters are super cruel and vicious and can seem kind of mindless, even though they're kind of like super smart, I do have some books where Jesters are the main characters. And that's fun. That's gonna be a fun book to write. Please tell me it's the angel origin. That would be funny. That would be interesting. But no. Angels come into existence probably how you would think God. God created angels and that's how angels exist. That one's simple. That one's not a fun one. However, harpies. That one, so book 3 and 4 both feature a harpy. And I explained the origins of harpies. Where's the Lucifer? You know, that's a fun question. So Lucifer, actually I call him Lucifel. So all angel names typically end in EL. And so I named him Lucifel because Lucifer is technically an angel. Lucifel, I should say. And yeah, he is in my series. You actually see Lucifel in book 2 for the first time, which is awesome. Yeah. And no, Lucifel is not evil. I will say that. I didn't want to, when I was coming up with this series, especially since I have taken inspiration from, Christianity and whatnot, I didn't want to make Lucifer or Lucifel a evil character because that's kind of easy, It's what you kind of expect. I wanted to do something different with him. And so I made him a not evil character, and further stuff will be explained about him in book 2. But yeah, I thought it was more fun to not make him evil and to make Adam evil. So yeah. Do they have different colored wings? Does who have different colored wings? Sephiroth came to mind, one winged angel. Oh, he has 6 white and 1 black. I will say, so angels angels will have 2 to 8 wings. The more wings they have, the more powerful they are. And they have, you know, the typical white feathered wings. Demons are the same. They will have 2 to 8, but their wings are like the bat wings, black bat wings. Most demons are only winged 2 to 5, with the 7 deadly sin demons being the only ones to have 6 wings. There is an exception. There is one of the deadly sin demons whose wings are different. I'm not going to explain who or why or what those are. And yeah, that's basically it with those. Yeah, Sephiroth. Oh, that just reminds me. I have to finish Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm like on the last. I have maybe a few hours left of gameplay in it. I'm almost done it, but greater and lesser evils. Well, that's the thing I like to emphasize with my series too, is that just because, you know, not everyone from a race is either good or evil. Like, it's split. So like, for example, you know, you have angels, right? Angels are typically seen as, you know, nice, pure, angelic, just good people or good beings, but yet there are some evil ones. So, you know, like humans, like people in, you know, our real world, you know, we have good people, we got bad people, and I want to emphasize that with my series. You know, there are some good vampires, some bad vampires. You know, there are some good elves and some bad elves, and it's all a mix, because not any one race is good or evil, it's both. So, greater, lesser evils going Diablo style. Yeah, that's true. Okay. Alright. Let's move on to the next part of chapter 3. Dre is going through some shit. Let's see how Edward's doing, you know? Edward finished his coffee and unrolled the rim. Free coffee, he shrugged and placed the cup next to a sink. He'd rinse it and cut the rim later. Returning to the living room, he sat on the couch as his phone buzzed from his back pocket with an email from Disk. Opening the PDF attached to the message, he read up on his latest target. Drea Shinigami, rumored to be an Amefuri Monshi, fights with a dagger 94% of the time. When she doesn't have a mission, she visits her sister in the evening or night. Madison, blood contractor, currently has no open mission. The strongest Shinigami were known as the Amefuri Monshi. If she was rumored to be entering their ranks, it meant that she would be a challenge. The Shinigami must have taken a soul yesterday, since she didn't have a current mission, so she would be at her sister's tonight. That piece of information made him pause. Madison, she's a rank 5 blood contractor, he frowned at his phone. Rank 5 was the highest rank a blood contractor could achieve. They were all well known because only they were assigned to jesters. Each rank had specific races to target. Edward was a rank 4. He didn't know it was possible to have a sibling from a different race. He closed the PDF and opened the image attached to the email. It was a black and white photo, as if taken from some type of security camera. That was why hackers were so useful in this time period. Normally, a picture or video like this would have been seen by snooping humans. However, all the hacker needed to do was delete or alter the image to make it seem as if nothing out of the ordinary was occurring. If a problem couldn't be solved by a hacker, then a Shinigami was dispatched. The woman in the photograph was standing on the roof of a car in a parking garage. Her scythe's pole was parallel to the floor as she held it behind her back. There appeared to be gems on the top of the pole and some on the blade as well. The woman herself was beautiful. He couldn't look away from her face. Her hair was long and light, probably blonde. 2 braids ran along the sides of her head and, he assumed, connected at the back. Her bangs were windblown. Like all Shinigami, she wore black. Her pants looked like jeans, and her tank top revealed the cleavage of nicely rounded breasts. A small smirk quirked her lips. She was captivating. Why was this Shinigami so appealing to him? In his long, non-human life, he had encountered many stunning women, but there was something about this one. He was transfixed. I wonder what color her eyes are, he spoke aloud to his empty living room. Confused by his reaction, he closed the email and tossed his phone to the cushion next to him. He ran a hand through his hair and stared up at the ceiling, trying to make sense of his thoughts. He had admired a woman's beauty before, but none had ever been so tempting. Why this Shinigami? Why now, after so many centuries? Gee, I wonder why, Edward. It's almost like you're in a romance novel. Wait. Yep. There we go. Thought I was gonna skip a chapter. Is Drea aware of the rumor? Does she know she's close to promotion? Let me think. It's been a while since I've worked on book 1. I don't know if she knows, or if she even cares necessarily. I don't think she really thinks about that, or if it's, you know, I don't think so. Hackers sound like they make a Shinigami's job obsolete. They erase data that might reveal people to humans. However, what you don't know is hackers have a lot of shit going on in their lives. Once I finally get to a hacker's book, that will be shown. Hackers got a lot to deal with. They can't just be going around blocking all information on non-humans so humans don't find them out. They got enough to do. And besides, hackers are a very new, very, very new race. So like, before their existence, they just, you know, Shinigami just had to do everything. Yeah. Mitten. Does she get promoted after she and Edward fight the Jesters? That would be a spoiler for the end of the book, so I'm not gonna tell you. But what I will say is I'm gonna take a break to stretch my legs before we get on to the next vibrations. I'm gonna take a break before I get on to the next chapter. So, stretch my legs, refresh my drink. Yeah, but like, I'm not gonna tell you the results of that fight. Anyways, you keep speculating. I'll read up when I get back. And back. Okay. Got up, stretched, nice. Also called my mom. Apparently she was freaking out a little bit because she got some emails that were scams and she wasn't sure, so she just wanted me to check in on that to make sure everything was okay. And they are. She already knows not to click things in her emails because I've warned her about this kind of stuff before, so she was just freaking out a little bit because of that, but it's all good. She didn't click anything, nothing happened. But yeah, all good. And anyone watching this, yeah, never, ever, ever, ever click links in emails if you're not sure of them. Or if someone calls you or something like that and they want your information, always be skeptical. I know for me, because I live in Canada, if like someone from like any branch of the government were to call me, I know all I have to do to make sure if they're legit is to ask them to speak French. Because everyone working for the government knows French. So if a scammer's trying to scam me and they don't speak French, I know they're fucking with me. But then again, I usually can tell if it's a scammer anyways. So yeah. Plus, I watch a lot of scam baiting stuff on YouTube, which is super hilarious. There's this one YouTuber called Kitboga. Watching him pretend to be like a really old lady or an old man or something and like talk with these scammers and waste like hours of their time, like 4, 5, 6 hours, and the scammer has no idea that he's not legit a very old person. It's hilarious. I love it. Hours of entertainment. Hours. It's great. Okay. Crisis averted. Be good. We are at 2 o'clock. Shall we go on with another chapter or should we pause? We got through 3 chapters. Which is not bad for the hour and a half we were going at. I don't want to read too much either. I want to like space out my readings as we go. How long is chapter 4? Chapter 4 is lengthy and interesting. Ooh. Yeah. Basically, chapter 4 is Edward and Drea meet for the first time. But we're gonna hold off on that. I need to make a note that we're ending on chapter 4 though. Or else I won't remember. I need, let's see. Oh, there's my little booklet. Give me a sec. Okay. Let me write down where we are here. I'm gonna write down the back of the book. Let's see. KH. We're on chapter 4. Okay. Just so I remember for next week, because I really would like to do this every Friday. It's a fun little idea. Even if I can't read properly. I'm at least hoping I'm enunciating enough so that what I'm saying is understood. So, yeah. But yeah, this is my book, A Knight's Heart. Pretty. Simple back cover. Didn't do anything fancy with it. Yeah, like it's a pretty cover. I got the cover off of a website called selfpubbookcovers.com, and all of the covers on there are like decently priced, like at like $100 or less, which is nice. And yeah, I found this book cover there, and then after I bought it, I just got the basic image, or sorry, just the image I got of it, and then in Photoshop I put all the writing on it, you know, my name, book title, and all that stuff. Yeah. The fun part was doing the spine, which looks like that. That's my logo at the top. Yeah, this way, like, when you put all my books side by side, they all kind of look the same, which is nice. But, yeah. My book. Welcome back, Token. I was saying that I'm probably going to stop reading for now. We're stopping at chapter 4. And that's going to be a fun chapter we'll get into next week. It's a chapter where Edward and Drea meet up. No, what did it feel like when first seeing your name on a published book? Oof. What did it first feel like? Definitely exciting. I mean, first there was like a lot of worry and anxiety because, you know, even though you follow the guidelines of like how your image looks or whatever on Amazon when you're uploading it, to actually get the print and realize, okay, it actually looks okay. You know, everything is where I need it to be. Nothing is cut off. We're good. So it was a bit nerve-wracking making sure that it looked nice. Although I will say, I do have in the actual image, there's like a black line up top of it. So sometimes some of the print copies have like a very thin black line on top, which kind of sucks. But yeah. And then the spines sometimes don't wrap around exactly the way I want. They'll bleed a little bit on the back or a little bit on the front, but I do the best I can considering I'm doing it all myself. And then another challenge is because the barcode is here, I have to like space my words out of the blurb so like it doesn't hit the barcode. And yeah, it was very nerve-wracking, but also, you know, excited and happy that, you know, I have a book. I mean, it may just be self-published, but I can say, hey, this is my book. It is here. It's a physical copy. It can be read. Like, yeah. And I really love my book covers. I know this one probably does not say paranormal romance, so that kind of hurts me, but it fits. Like, it works when you read, when you know what's going on in the book. Because, I mean, Drea, she wears black all the time. She has blonde hair. That could easily be her. And then there's something that happens in the book that, like, really goes well with the background imagery that's here. So, yeah, it may not scream my genre, but it really does fit. And, yeah. But the other books are definitely, the other book covers are, you know, your typical, you know, romance or paranormal romance covers with like half-naked dude and whatever. But this first book, the second I saw it, I knew it was the one. So do the other books in your series have hard copies too? Or are you doing, you know, all my books, all 4 that I have published right now have hard copies. And I will show them off as I read them. Yeah, no, they all are. The only ones that won't are the ones I'm not publishing due to financial reasons. But yeah, they all have a physical copy, and I do buy my copy, so I could get an author copy, but the author copy actually has a thing on the front saying like author copy with like a grayish background, and I wanted a copy of my book that didn't have that. I wanted like pure how it's supposed to be. So yeah, I have them all. They're all sitting in my living room. Actually, fun fact, this is part of a copy that I have to give to someone. So I have family in Italy, and my mom wanted to send all the books to them. So like, we kind of just have them sitting here. We haven't sent them out yet. So that this is technically the copy that's supposed to go to my family in Italy. My copies are sitting on a table out in the living room with like 2 little things as bookends. Yeah. Waiting for all 60 before sending it out. Time just got away with us. What can I say? You know, they kind of are just sitting in a pile right now and just just all chilling there. Yeah, it's just one of those things that like it's not like a priority, so it kind of just slips your mind all the time, especially with when there's a bunch of other shit going on right now. So how many years before you expect to finish the series? So initially, when I was consistently publishing, I planned to publish 2 books a year, which, you know, starting when I was roughly 30, I would have been, oh god, how old am I? Yeah. So like, let's say in 30 years, if I was to continue with my 2 books a year plan, I would be like in my 60s, because it would be 30-ish years from now. But because I'm no longer publishing and I'm just writing the books, obviously if I'm not so focused on, you know, getting them published, you know, publication ready, which takes a lot more time and work other than just writing and editing and all that stuff, I can actually get the books out pretty quickly. So like, you know, book 5, for example, only took me 3 or so months, we'll say. There's still a little bit more I have to do, but it took me about 3, we'll say 3.5 months it'll be by the time I'm actually done book 5 completely. And so, you know, if I can do a book like this in about 3 or so months, it's not going to take me long to get the series done. But like I said, the quality that my books are right now compared to what they could be when published is different, because I'm not hiring a professional editor for book 5. I'm just putting it on Patreon because I'm not publishing it. So that saves me some time there, so I can, you know, write a bit more and get my books out at least to people to read them. Don't you fear getting bored of the series if you have to commit? No, not at all. And that's mainly because each book is its own thing. You know what I mean? Like, each book is its own set of characters, right? Like, in this book, there's Edward and Drea. You know, Edward's a blood contractor, and Drea's a Shinigami, and from what we've seen, Edward has a contract for her, and that's the plot of that one. And then, you know, in the second book, you have Richard and Ellie. Spoiler alert, Richard is a blood contractor, and Ellie's a human, so there's that dynamic to deal with. And then in book 3, there's Tayshin and Trina. Tayshin being a harpy, Trina a human, and then there's, you know, that dynamic. Like, all the different couples and races that I have there mixed together in each book, and each book has its own plot, and it's very, very, like, varying. There's different stuff happening each time, and different characters, different races, and all the dynamics that go into that. So it's different enough that no, I don't feel bored at all, and I love it. I love romance. I love paranormal romance and doing all that stuff. So definitely it's always fun to me. Like, even like just thinking about what books I have coming up and is always so much fun. And yeah. Do you get your Patreon people to partial edit for free? No, there was a time a while ago when one of my Patreons would point out some like editing stuff, but like, yeah, I don't really have many patrons. I have, I think, 5 right now. I don't even know if my patrons read what I put on there. So considering like they're all family except for I think 2 people who are my friends, and I don't know if they read what I put on there. So yeah. I don't know. But what level is Richard? Richard is rank 3. So he's like right middle of the road, and there's a very specific reason, which is, so like I've said, each blood contractor rank goes after specific races, and there's a specific race that Richard hates, and only rank 3s can go get contracts for that race, and that's why Richard wants to always be a rank 3, because he wants to hunt down that specific race. They have access to all your books? So I have posted Let me think. I don't know if I put all of my books on Patreon. So like I've had Patreon for a while now, and I've, over the years I've changed up how I approach it and stuff like that, right? So how I was doing it when I was publishing is I was posting chapters of the book I was working on up until publication, and then I would give copies of my books to my patrons. But I wasn't really getting any feedback. Like, there was no engagement with my posts. From what I was looking on my analytics, no one was reading my posts. So I was like, well, I'm not gonna do that. And no one was asking for it or demanding it. So I was like, well, yeah. And I kind of just let Patreon just kind of fizzle out for a bit. But then I picked it up again, especially since I'm not publishing anymore. So I was like, okay, because I'm not publishing and I still want to write the books for my series, this is what I was gonna do. So with book 5 being the first one I'm not publishing at the moment, I'm putting 2 to 3 chapters of book 5 up on every Sunday on my Patreon until the book is done, and then I'll start putting book 6 and book 7 and so on, and I'll just keep going. And then if I happen to make enough money to publish, I'm still going to continue with this plan of putting chapters on there. And then I will even offer, if people want my books because they've been, my patron for so long, I will give them the book for free, whatever version they want, the ebook or a PDF format, whatever. Not the print copy. That's a bit tricky. But yeah, this is like future plans I have, because like I don't really have much patrons like I was saying, so I don't know what the interest is right now, but I still wanted to put my books out there in some way, and Patreon was the way I've decided to do it. So, and hopefully garner some interest, I guess. You mentioned that the books are essentially standalone, but how much are you missing from the background plot if you read out of order? So you're not really missing anything. So for example, I can tell you, you're only missing out on like what happened in that book with those characters. So for example, in this book, Drea is a Shinigami, right? So I explain a bit about Sora no Chi, the dimension that Shinigami live. So in another book that has a Shinigami, which is book 5, I explain Sora no Chi again. It's not like I'm like, oh yeah, we're in Sora no Chi and then that's it, and then I just don't explain further. I still explain what Sora no Chi is, what it looks like, the feel of it, how that the Shinigami live there, and I explain the dimension. And I do that with like, let's say a blood contractor and their weapons. Just because, I've, explained what blood contractors are in one book doesn't mean I won't do it again in another one. Basically, it's like treating every book as if that's the only book the reader will read. So you want to give the descriptions, even though if someone has read all the books, it may be, maybe a tiny bit monotonous because they already know, but you have to kind of approach it as, okay, someone might start with book 3, so I have to describe or explain things thinking that, okay, that's the first book that they're starting with, that may be the only book that they're reading. So that's kind of how you have to do it when you're writing a series like this. But then another fun thing about it is that, if I'm describing the dimension where Shinigami live, Sora no Chi, I'm describing it from another character's perspective. So that character will see things differently than another character, right? Like Drea talking about how souls are sorted in hell. She doesn't really know how they're being sorted, how that shit happens. She's not a sin demon, right? Versus if we're in a book where a sin demon is the main character, you'll get more information because that person does that task, right? You're basically pigeonholed into what character perspective you're in, which makes things interesting. But your question there reminds me of my favorite series, which is, the series is called Immortals After Dark, by author Kresley Cole. And she has a character named Lothair. And this character, if you read the book not chronologically, but as she wrote it, right? Reading, the first book she wrote and onwards, then, you know, you get like little pieces of this one character, Lothair, throughout the book. And then eventually she released his book where he's the main character, which, you know, that buildup of seeing him throughout all these books and then getting his book to read was like, the level of emotions was just like, oh my god, finally have his book. He's been talked about for so long. Like, parts of him have been hinted at for so long. We don't really know what's going on, but now we have his book and now we can finally read it. That's awesome. Compared to someone who may have just picked up Lothair's book as the first book. They don't get that hype. Which is why, like, even though, you know, the series doesn't have to be read in, you know, order as I release them, I still encourage it, because then you get those tidbits and pieces, right? Like, for example, let's say, you know, I write Adam's book, right? Adam's book is, let's say it's number 13, because that's fun. Let's say Adam's book is 13, right? I've sprinkled out things about him throughout the entire series, and then Adam's book, so I've hyped him up. But if someone's starting off with Adam's book, you don't get that hype, which is unfortunate. But I can't really stop people from picking and choosing which books they want to read, so I do my best with what I can. And just hope people want to read them in order. But yeah, just gotta deal with that aspect of it. So initially, when I first published A Knight's Heart, I had it wide, which means it was in Amazon, it was on Kobo, Barnes and Nobles, all online, by the way, not physical copies. I'm talking about all online distributors. There was a bunch of them, I can't remember what they all are, but it was on like every online bookstore website it could be. My sales were crap. They were terrible. They were like, so I've said before that I get, if I'm lucky, $10 a month. I was getting like barely $5 with that method. So then I was like, okay, the only thing I could change up to see what would happen is if I just go exclusive to Amazon, which means I would be on Kindle, which means I could qualify for page reads. So if you want your book on Kindle, you can't put it on any other website. It's exclusive to Amazon if you're in Kindle. And the benefit to that is if you're on Kindle, you get paid by page reads versus just selling your book. I wasn't getting any sales from any of the other retailers anyways, only on Amazon. So I was like, well, I'll put myself on Kindle, exclusive to Amazon, and see if I can get any royalties from page reads. And I was getting some, which was nice. Yeah. So, but no, I'm not in any physical stores, though. That's not how self-publishing works necessarily. There may be some self-published authors who have done that, but I'm not exactly sure, and it would take like a lot of money, we'll say, because, you know, you have to, there's the buying of all the physical books, and then, you know, I'm pretty sure how it works is that you're buying the space to be on a shelf in a physical bookstore, and that's a lot. So most people just stick to being like online with their ebooks, or, you know, like a print on demand like I have. It's just a lot easier for indies and self-publishers to do it like that. But yeah, just on Amazon. I wasn't selling through anything else anyways, so. And for a while I was getting pretty decent page reads too, but that's all kind of dropped off, mainly because I stopped doing ads throughout March, and when I'm not doing ads I make like zero money. So yeah, it's a tough game, you know, being a self-published author. It's rough, but I'm not gonna do it, so. Did you get to see which books got the most page reads? Or how far into the book they got. Because my books are fairly short, whenever someone would read a book, they were reading it to the end. And it was mostly the first book because I was running ads on the first book. So basically, when you get into the whole marketing and advertising side of your books, what you're always told is you want to put ads and all that stuff, focus on the first book, because if someone reads the first book and likes it, they will continue on to the second one. So there's no point in really putting ads and stuff onto your next books. And it's called read through rate. So if someone likes your first book, they like it, they'll read the second one. They like that, they'll read the third, and then continuing on down the line. I've experienced that a little bit, not as much as I'd like, obviously. But I would, yeah, a lot of people, like I said, because I was focusing all my advertising and marketing efforts on my first book, that would get me the most sales or page reads. But yeah, it didn't really trickle down to my other books. Probably because the paranormal beings I have in my books aren't ones that are kind of known. You know, like if I would have started the series with like a vampire or werewolf or something like that, maybe that would have done a bit better because people are more familiar with it. Which is why with my fourth book being about a mermaid, I kind of pushed advertising and stuff on that one a little bit. And that one did not bad. Like I said, I cut off all my ads in March because financial reasons, but I decided to pick them up again because even if I'm not coming out even or ahead in any sense, at least having ads out there gets me some kind of sales, and I can afford to do a little bit as long as I budget myself properly. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of talk like on what you can do to improve or what you should do and blah blah blah, but whether or not things will work depends on the genre and the person and people, and there's a lot of factors, and it's really annoying. Like, of course I wish there was just like do this one thing and like you will sell some books, but that's not how shit works, unfortunately. It's a lot of guesswork and hoping something happens, but I haven't quite hit that yet. Vamps and werewolves are overdone at the moment, and Twilight really killed them. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. You look at some of the top romance or paranormal romance books out there, and there's a lot of shifter stuff. Like, either it's werewolf shifter or of some kind. So, like... And when it comes to romance, readers will eat up anything. Let me tell you. So there's a big audience for it, just... And that's also my problem, the fact that there are so many romance books, so many paranormal romance books that, you know, trying to get my book in front of people is hard because there's so much. And yeah, that's difficult. But yeah. Yeah, no, it's not overdone, trust me. People still love it. And when you mention Twilight, that is more specifically young adult romance, I guess you would say. Which is, yeah, young adult fiction and stuff is different from like romance or paranormal romance. So they are definitely not overdone in the genre. But yeah, I don't know. Like I've said before, I don't really have like a big goal in mind. I mean, all I really want is to just like hit, even if I can just make like $500 a month, that'll be like, I'm good with that. Like, I don't need a bajillion dollars or anything like that. I just want enough to like live off of, which isn't even a lot, especially since I've moved back in with my mom, so I don't really have to worry about rent or anything like that. But basically just enough to like get by is all I would want when it comes to sales. I'm not, you know, I'm not greedy with it. I just want enough to live off of comfortably, you know? The genre, what's the ratio between fantasy, sci story, and innocent times? Movie versus your books. Pretty much like all of the romance books I've read, and like in the paranormal romance genre, because that's the subgenre I read, there are always like sex scenes in them. Always. I don't. Not that I've read like a ton, but the ones that I've read, those scenes are in there. I know that. So when a romance without those scenes are called sweet romances, whereas, you know, when a scene is about to happen, they kind of like fade to black, cut the scene off, whatever. But most of the time, there are sex scenes in them. Like, I'm gonna say like the majority of romance novels and even paranormal romance novels have those scenes. So yeah. Which is great because I like writing them. I might actually even dabble in some erotica soon. I have some erotica short story ideas I want to put out there. Like I was saying, I want to do like 2 a month. So like on the 15th and then on the 30th of each month. And the 15th is coming up. So I really got to get down to that if I want to like get it out. And it would just be a quick self-edited little short stories that I would just put up on Amazon for like 99 cents, and then eventually I would like put them into like a whole collection or something. But that's the idea I have. We'll see what happens with those. But yeah. Honestly, that's why I'm kind of doing the whole Twitch and YouTube thing. Seeing if I could get maybe a new, you know, some people into my series like this, right? Because clearly the methods I've been using don't really work, and I've done social media to try and get like organic, you know, things like that. You know, if I, you know, post something on, you know, on a social media, maybe someone will be interested in my books like that or something like that. But I tried that for like a while, a couple years back, and that didn't really work. So this is my new method, to do Twitch and YouTube and talk about my books and work on my books and see if I can gain some interest in that way. Yeah. I'm curious to see what's gonna happen tomorrow. So tomorrow I'm going to be playing Hollow Knight, and I'm wondering if like I'll get people into my stream by playing Hollow Knight and then talking about my books and then seeing if I can get any interest that way. But we'll see. That's pretty much my goal with this. We'll see what happens. Make a share request to all your social media friends. Try and get some use out of them. I've done that. I do have friends that have like, you know, for example, when I released my 4th book or whatever, I did have friends who were sharing it and stuff like that, but that didn't really get anywhere either. Yeah. I've tried a bunch of things. I've put a lot of money since first publishing into like marketing and advertising and, you know, asking friends to share stuff. I was in one of my friends' newsletters at one point, and yeah. Yeah, I won't say I've gotten nothing since first publishing my book. Since first publishing book 1. You know, it's not like I've made $0, which is nice, but obviously it's not nearly enough to like sustain me. Like I said, a minimum of like $500 a month is like what I would need, which is not even that much. But getting noticed is hard. Especially on Amazon. Yeah. But I try. I've even like taken some courses on marketing and advertising that are specifically for self-publishers. Those have helped, you know, kind of showed me the ropes of how to do things. Excuse me. But yeah, like I said, even if someone like says, hey, I've done this and this was successful for me, doesn't mean it will be for everyone. So I mean, there are some people whose posts I've read who are like, you know, I've changed my book covers so many times, I've changed my blurbs so many times, I've done this and that and everything, and like still nothing, no sales and stuff like that. So it's tricky finding out the thing that'll, you know, work. But that's okay. It's a grind. I'm not gonna stop writing just because I'm not making any money. I'm still gonna write my books. And if people really are interested in them, they can go to my Patreon to support me, and thus making it so I can publish some more. But for the most part, the plan right now is just put myself up on Patreon. If people, you know, really want to support me and help me out, they can do so there. They you know, I have a lot of neat little shit on Patreon. You know, you get chapters of my books to read. You can have your name on an acknowledgements page, which I could show off actually. So like books typically have acknowledgements. I have a special acknowledgements. And you can see that just for Patreon, just for my patrons. But, you know, I have a special like Q&A live stream thing I'm offering on my Patreon, and yeah, just a bunch of stuff. But ultimately the chapters of my books are all gonna go up on there until I can publish again. And if not, then oh well. Are you happy with your book covers? Are the people on the front what you imagine them to look like when you create the characters? I really am happy with the book covers. So, when I think about my characters, I don't like think about them in detail as like, oh, the shape of their eyes, how big is their nose, and things like that. The most I'll think about of my characters when I'm creating them is like, you know, like their hair color, like the length of their hair, how it's styled, and then their eye color, and then things like, do they have any piercings, do they have tattoos, like any defining features like that, like do they have scars. I don't even really think about skin color necessarily. There are very few characters where I specify what their skin color is, but for the most part, I mean, if a reader comes by and they want to, you know, imagine Drea or Edward as like having dark skin or whatever, they can. Hell, you can even imagine my characters having blue, red, purple skin, whatever. Like, it doesn't really matter to me. The only defining features I really think of are like hair color, eye color, and stuff like that. Because, yeah, that's it. And, oh, and actually, the second part of your question about the book covers, how the characters look. For me, yeah, so like when looking for a cover for this book, I mean, I know Drea is blonde-haired, so when I saw this, I was like, oh great, a blonde-haired woman and wearing black? Perfect. And then I have another cover of my book, so the second one, Richard has like brownish hair, so the male model or whatever on that cover has brown hair, and Ellie, who's the female lead in that book, has black hair, blue eyes, and the cover also has a woman with black hair, blue eyes, so like it kind of worked out nicely. The mermaid one was interesting. I'm actually very happy that I found a nice cover with a mermaid on it. It's a nice one. I like book 4, but 2 names were in there. Did they pledge to have character names named after them? So I don't have a tier on Patreon where I name name characters after people. I did in the very beginning of Patreon, but then I changed that up. You know, the 2 names. So if you go on my Patreon, I think it's at the $5 tier, and it's just if you're a patron of mine at that tier, then your name just goes on that page. That's all it is. Nice and simple. You pledge to me for $5, you get your name on that page. That's it. I have thought about going back though to doing like having people in my books, like people who have pledged to me on Patreon or something, but they wouldn't, for one, they wouldn't be main characters. They'd obviously be side characters, maybe even killed off in some way in the same book. And then also, I also had the option of like people choosing what race they wanted to be, which was fun. But nothing was really going on with that tier, so I just axed it. Yeah. Also, Edward and the Acknowledgements didn't pay to... Oh, no, yeah. Oh, okay. No. Edward is a very old friend of mine. And, yeah, no. It's actually purely coincidental that he is one of the people who is at that tier paying to be on the acknowledgement page plus the main character in the book. Purely coincidental. Although that's funny, but no. I came up with the Edward character like a long time ago. And yeah. But yeah. I think we're almost at 3. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go now. It was nice talking to you. Thanks for asking me all the questions. It's fun answering them. Yeah. Too bad no one else stopped by, but I guess that's okay. Maybe I should put more emphasis on the love scenes next time. Or at least, like, try and, like, clickbait people or something. That'd be fun. Thanks for sharing your book. Yeah, no problem. I don't mind. It was fun reading it. Yeah, and I'll see you... Hey, if you're... I don't know how your weekends are, but if you're free tomorrow, I'm playing a video game, playing Hollow Knight, so I'll see you then. If not, I will see you Monday. And yeah, have a nice day, a nice night. See you next time. Bye.